founder and CEO of Betr Health. He's actually joining us live from Portugal. Took some time out of a trip to spend some time talking about gut health and really how it impacts more than just digestion. So, Dr. Ferro, I'll let you educate us.
Excellent. Well, I do know that Portuguese people will tell me that a little wine is good for gut health, so I'll make sure that that is on the menu this evening once meet up with the family. But thanks everybody for joining us. Again, this is Dr. Ferro from Betr Health. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide for me, that would be great. Okay, so what Betr Health is, it's a remotely coached lifestyle plan, just to give you a little bit of background. And most of the people that are coming to us are looking for energy, sleep, mood, increasing their blood labs. And unfortunately, a lot of people are coming to us because we're looking to lose weight, but many of us have somewhat given up on that. So the energy and the sleep and the mood are all important aspects of it. When it comes to the relationship between your gut, your brain, your health overall, a lot of these processes can be reversed, like IBS, Crohn's, obesity, anxiety, depression, diabetes, prediabetes, all things listed here on this slide. In fact, just by focusing in on internal nourishment. Could you go to the next slide for me, please? Okay, so where do we begin? Many of you, when it comes to fat, right, that's the number one reason why we got on this call, is to figure out, all right, how am I going to get rid of some of this stubborn belly fat? So this is a little bit of a bait and switch webinar here. So we are going to definitely talk about converting fat to energy, but I'm going to speak to you in ways that show how the human condition can completely thrive beyond just fat. And actually converting fat to energy is probably the easiest part of this whole process. Many of you are sitting there saying, yeah, right, are you kidding me? I feel like this fat will not budge no matter how much I starve myself, how much I exercise. And many of us always get off to a great start, but then we fall off. And let's face it, we've lost the same 10, 15, 30, 40 pounds over and over again over life, but it's very difficult to maintain it. Now, most people are going to say that has to do with your lack of willpower, your lack of motivation. They're going to say things like, you just need to move more and eat less. And that actually infuriates me. I see all the commercials, all the memes on Facebook, essentially just shouting out to you all the time saying, oh, that's pain, weakness leaving the body, and just do it. Just do it, Nike. I've done it like 500 times and it doesn't seem to be working. What are we missing here? You see, telling someone to simply move more and eat less is like telling someone who's struggling financially to make more money and spend less. This is a highly oversimplification of a much more complex issue. Your body's either going to store fat or utilize it for energy. It's very simple. It's like an on or off switch. And what determines which way that will go? Well, it's going to boil down to the body and mind undergoing stress. You see, when you're stressed out, you're starving yourself, you're internally imbalanced, and your body is going to fight or flight mode. It's actually hoarding fat as a survival tactic. The key here is to nourish and rebalance the body with a specific eating plan that doesn't stress it out. And it's going to make the results feel effortless. So you'll see here throughout my presentation, I'm always going back to Hippocrates. And what he said in this quote is, it's more important to know what sort of person has a disease than to know what sort of disease has that person. Let's examine this for a second. I always like to talk about the state of the human condition. So how are we finding ourselves right now? Before we can talk about weight loss, losing weight, getting healthy, we really need to know what our bodies are up against and what we find ourselves in on a daily basis, because some of these things, these processes aren't going to work just for every person out there. In fact, many of them won't. So what is the current human condition that most of us find ourselves in? Well, we find ourselves that we're very stressed out process. Pardon me. Sorry, a little interference there. Okay, we find ourselves stressed out, right? We're not thinking of our own health. We're not thinking of taking time. We're not thinking of going through the motions of getting healthy because it's not paying off, right? We're saying to ourselves, hey, we've done this so many times over and over again, and it just doesn't seem to be working. So when I talk about renourishing your body and replenishing itself, I want to end this emotional and physical weight loss roller coaster and replace it with that fat conversion mindset that is the healthiest and easiest way to sustain it. Don't get me wrong. I love a good workout. However, I don't get my body internally prepared for it. It'll actually be working against my self, actually switching on the fat storage instinct. It's very possible that many of us have been undoing positive things by taking a negative approach to a situation that was already pretty negative. In fact, you to truly be successful on this, your body ultimately just needs to relax. And I know that can be very difficult for many people. I think of the idea that, hey, I don't have to punish myself. How is that going to work? This is a foreign notion to me that I have not been out there constantly stressing my own body out. And so when we go through this human condition, we have to think about things that work and don't work. So what isn't working? Well, clearly starving ourselves is not working. That is not the pathway to be most successful. That's why when you're trying to lose weight, it feels like you're swimming upstream, right? The body's saying, no, I don't like this. It gives you cravings, poor sleep, and you just can't seem to hold on to any of these results. Remember, fat loss is going to happen without these chaotic, stressful strategies. Instead, it's going to do much better when you're doing the right things with a supportive system that's going to fit your unique needs. So I want to go further into what that human condition is so we can truly figure out, okay, I've tried this, I've tried that, nothing seems to be working. So what do we usually say are the common scapegoats when things aren't working? Well, it must be my DNA. It must be my genetics, right? It must be my thyroid. These are all the scapegoats. What do the experts say when you try to move more, eat less, when you try the 3 times a week Zumba classes and nothing seems to work and then you fall off? Well, they say, well, you have no willpower and motivation. So here's 2 things that you need to accept about yourself tonight before any of this will actually sink in and do any good for you. Number 1 is your inability to lose weight, sustain it, or increase your health potential is not your fault. And many of you may have given up on that, but it's not true. This is not your fault. Number 2 thing I need you to accept is everyone on this call is whole and complete. There's only barriers to that expression. So what are the barriers to our expression? Well, in our opportunity, the barriers are the stress, the chemicals, the pollutants, right? Everything that you're on against. You have no time. We're doing more with less. I'm here in Portugal, and they're telling us, you Americans come over here, and you're all just fat and lazy. And then in the next breath, they tell us we never take time to stop and smell the roses. So which is it? Well, sure, we're carrying extra weight probably than the majority of the world right now. But is it because we're lazy? Or is it that our bodies are in a constant state of stress? And as I said before, when your body's under stress, it's either going to utilize fat or it's going to store it. So is it possible that all this amazing amounts of stress that we're under as Americans, both mentally, physically, chemically, are causing this to happen? And then the strategy that we use to combat it is just adding more stress to it. Think about this. The weekend comes, we're getting ready, we want to go out, spend some time with our friends and family, and maybe you have one of those weekends where there's 2 or 3 parties, kids' birthdays, you name it. You don't eat so well. And maybe you have a couple of drinks to go with it. Well, what do we always say on that Sunday night or that Monday morning? Boy, I got to get back to the gym. I got to go do something. I had such a bad weekend of eating. I got to get to the gym. You know what your body's telling you? Are you kidding me? Don't you dare go to the gym. I actually think I need you to nourish me for the next 3 to 4 days. Give me copious amounts of water so I'm prepared for it. Because if you don't do that, everything you try to accomplish at the gym is going to have the opposite effect. It's going to create more stress. That stress is going to create cravings. You know how? Because you're already under copious amounts of stress. So your adrenal glands are constantly secreting norepinephrine and adrenaline. And they get tired at the end of the day. So at 10, 11 o'clock at night, when you're done with the stress, you put on some dumb television show, just take your mind off of it. And what happens when you do that? Those adrenal glands relax for a second from handling all that stress all day long. And it gets you off the couch, up over to the counter, and you see that fruit on the counter? You don't want any of that, do you? You don't even want to go to the refrigerator because that seems like too much work. So you go over to the pantry, or as many of us call it, or I call it the coffin, and there it is. There's your salt and your sweet. That's not because you're a bad person. That's not because you have a sweet tooth or a poor relationship with food. That's because that's how your body was designed to operate under fight or flight, under stress mode, is to crave those things, to store that fat. So how do we want to unwind it? By rejecting dieting, by rejecting punishment and replacing it with nourishment. Can you go to the next slide for me, please? So when we do this, when we replace it, your body says, okay, we want to reset the internal chemistry. So we start with the microbiome, the gut health, because food is your medicine. And so from the inside out, knowing that you have 10 trillion cells in your body and, I don't know, some estimates of 40 to 100 trillion natural bacteria, now the research is showing these little suckers are controlling everything from gene expression, how your brain functions, so although the process of handling all your mental stress may not be there, there is the ability to start by handling it from the inside out. And that's why you're seeing this gut health being linked to all of these different disease processes. But for me, as Hippocrates says, all disease begins in the gut. So doesn't it make sense to start there first? This is an opportunity for you to stop punishing yourself and realize that, oh, those strategies were off. The reason I failed is not because I wasn't great at counting calories. Are you kidding? Most of us can count calories like Rain Man. Most of us had 40 different gym memberships and are flipping tires in the parking lot, weighing our food. This is crazy. This is not what needs to happen. So Hippocrates, of course, said, well, let's start. All disease begins in the gut. Let's go to the next slide, please. So as we understand that all disease begins in the gut, what are we going to do about it? Well, it's pretty simple. We're going to use food. There are specific foods out there that are gut healthy. And yet every person here has a different formula to that. I find these programs out there that are constantly talking about health coaching and food coaching. Well, let's face it, everybody knows that cheeseburgers and french fries are not going to nourish and be helpful for the body. So let's not insult anybody. Everybody on the call here knows what bad food is bad for them. But not everybody knows what good food may be bad for them. So what we've uncovered in this process of worked with now over 15,000 people remotely, having them take pictures of their food every day and working with that support coach, is we have to help you dial in what works best for you. So for broccoli, for one person could be great, and for somebody else, not so great. And so as we're dialing that in over a 60-day period, that's how your body will know what is working best for it. And how you'll know it's gut healthy is your sleep will improve, your energy will come up, your body will be in such a state of ease that that fat switch that I talked about earlier, that is normally being kicked in the storage mode because of the fight or flight, the way it was designed to function, because it's in such a state of ease, it's going to start to convert belly fat to energy effortlessly. And in a few weeks, your skin's going to look different. Because oftentimes we forget that your skin is your digestive system. It's just connected through the mouth and through the anus. And it decides what comes in the body and what doesn't. Many times people think, oh, my intestines, my gastrointestinal system is an internal organ. No, it's an external organ. It's designed to keep things out, like your skin. Otherwise, if we were absorbing water in our skin every time we went to the shower, we'd come out looking like a bloated balloon. And your digestive system, with the help of those tiny bacteria and the relationship between the bacteria and the brain, help you digest things. Or not. And once those little buggers start flourishing, it reduces your anxiety. Anybody here dealing with anxiety? Of course, we all are. And it's worse than it's ever been. We're mad at our children because they're 25 years old and they're depressed. And we say, what do you have to be depressed about? I've bought you everything. You've done everything. Well, it's actually going to be harder for them to express health than our generation. Because for the first time in history, they have a lower life expectancy than we do. Because think about it, the colorings, the dyes, the chemical-laden makeups, the GMOs, the neurotoxins, the pesticides. What fighting chance do we have? So this isn't, when we talk about gut health, this isn't just getting the latest kombucha or a probiotic pill. This is about figuring out how to put your internal system completely at ease so it can function to its highest level. And when you do that, when you let the body go to work, the fat comes off, the sleep restores, the energy comes up, your mood changes, and of course your blood levels come back into normal range, and you can come off those medications that were probably causing more internal disruption. Very few people start with one medication and end that way, correct? Why does it keep going down that road? Because eventually it makes some of these processes work. I'm not bashing all medication, of course, it's life-saving, but for the majority of the things that we're suffering through, food can be your medicine. Next slide, please. Okay. The soul is the same in all living creatures, although the body of each is different. Isn't that the truth? Just watch a husband and wife when they go through this protocol we've developed. They do it so differently and so uniquely. We're all so unique. So let me give you an example of a woman named Julie that actually came to us through Flera. She was referred into our program. She lost 42 pounds in, I think, the first 60-something days. And at the end of it, of course, she was excited about all the energy and whatnot. She had been working with a trainer 3 times a week for a year. Lost a little over a pound. Felt great. Felt pretty good. But whatever reason, the weight wouldn't come off. So she does the program, loses all this weight. And I said, Julie, what did you learn? She said, my trigger foods were quinoa, Greek yogurt, and raspberries. Now, if that's the case, right, if quinoa, Greek yogurt, and raspberries are an issue for this person, which is on every magazine out there that you should be eating, what chance do the rest of us have? Why was it that the body, with 3 times a week with a personal trainer, and trust me, she was eating pretty well, because that's what we all say, right? I eat pretty good, or I know what to do, I just don't do it. No, she was actually eating really well, according to experts and magazines. But she didn't eat well for her body type. And that's what's unique here. Is when you're talking to different people, they say, well, I want to do the keto, I want to do the paleo, I want to do the South Beach. All of these things could be great. These are all great approaches. They just don't mean it's a great approach for you. So I want you to keep that in your mind, is that I have to first start with the gut, because nothing else is going to change unless I figure out that combination for my own gut health. Because it's research, and of course, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, look well to the gut for all disease. But we have to know that everybody here is different. So my philosophy is you can't do a one size fits all. Next slide, please. Now here it says if we get every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, not too little, not too much, we would have found the safest way to health. That is my favorite statement here because it's about balance. And on top of that, there's an art to that balance. You all have chaotic and stressful lives. We all do in this society. And sometimes putting time into our food can be difficult. So you have to come up with these strategies, just not what's perfect, but what's better. Thus, the name of our company is called Better Health, Not Perfect, because when we're working with people each day, we come up with recipes and meal plans that actually fit them, their lifestyle, and their family. Even if you're a vegan or vegetarian, often people come to me, well, isn't it better to be vegetarian or vegan? I said, well, that's up for you to decide. I'm just trying to focus on restoring you internally, get as much stress out of the way so you can actually start seeing some results so you feel empowered and you start to get educated. And when you're done with the protocol, you will have lost a lot of weight. And people would say to you, well, what diet did you go on? And you say, no, I didn't go on a diet. I actually learned for the first time what's working best for me. I've actually focused my attention on my internal health and my gut bacteria without stressing myself out. And lo and behold, many of my chronic issues, fibromyalgia, headaches, psoriasis, acid reflux, and of course the stubborn belly fat just goes away because that's what your body was designed to do. Now, many times this can go against the conventional thought process, but my question is, how's that working for us? These disease processes are exploding. How is the other way working? So when you do this, I want you to really think to yourself, I don't need to do more of anything. I probably need to do less of a lot of things. I don't want to put any more pressure on you. Say, oh, this is just one more thing I got to worry about or be frightened about. No, it's actually easy. Drinking water, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins that fit your body type, and focusing on internal gut health, and your body will immediately start reaping the rewards. I'm talking within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, your body will start to convert a half a pound, for some people up to a pound, of fat to energy. And they'll know it because when you do a diet, what happens? You're starving, you're miserable, you're hangry. Well, this doesn't happen here because you're converting that fat to energy. You're restoring your gut health, which helps with your mood, helps with your skin, your sleep. All of these things make it easier and easier. And that's how you know you're going in the right direction. Next slide, please. So if you can leave this call and realize this hasn't been your fault, that would make me incredibly happy. If you can leave this call and know that you are whole and complete with just barriers to that expression, that would make me ecstatic because it's true. Your body has the inherent recuperative powers to heal itself very quickly and easy without joining the latest fitness craze and some pink drink that somebody's selling you on the internet. That is not what you need. You need back to basics, very simple nourishment approach, and you will be successful. Stop beating yourself up over it, stop punishing yourself, and just start nourishing yourself. So I promised I would keep it below a half an hour, and believe me, I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to finish up there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ferro. That was really mind-opening when it comes to nourishment and gut health. A couple questions I have from our audience, and that we also took offline as well. When I think gut health, I think about probiotics. Is that something that you recommend for folks? What's your view on a prebiotic, probiotic?
Yes, great question. So, all right, you're talking about a guy that developed a probiotic as a supplement, and I can tell you that I would rather you use good, healthy food all day long, that natural probiotics, like things like apple cider vinegar, kefir, true Greek yogurt that hasn't been pasteurized, fruits and vegetables. Those are great. Those are pre and probiotic type foods. That's really where you get it from. When you put a supplement in the mix, that is what it's like extra insurance. It's that extra travel insurance that nobody really wants to get, but it comes in handy sometimes. Because let's face it, the probiotics are still processed. It's still in a pill. So I think that we, of course, in the U.S., we tend to want to manufacture something so we could sell it and get everybody excited about it. I'm not saying don't take your probiotic, but without really focusing on that food first, you don't even know what is the antagonist. So I'd rather you spend your money on healthy food and things like apple cider vinegar to get your good probiotics in, and then the other fruits and vegetables. That's really the way to gut health. The probiotics are the very, very small percentage of that process.
Awesome. Thank you. That great answer. And I know this might hit close to home with being in Portugal and the wine and whatnot, but how does alcohol and to an extent caffeine and coffee, and are there certain drinks that we should avoid that maybe just wreak havoc in our gut?
This is blasphemy. Giving up wine and coffee. Who are you? Get this guy off the call. Okay. So come on, guys. We really want to enjoy our lives. So I will say this, when people are doing the protocol, so we do a 30-day elimination, 30-day reintroduction process with the 30 days hyper-focused on them, restoring the gut microbiomes. People, of course, naturally say, all right, well, doc, I can do just about anything, but do I have to give up my wine? Do I have to give up my coffee? So to start a baseline, I always tell everybody, you got to give us at least 3 or 4 days to, cut out the alcohol. And we usually still let people have the coffee. And the goal there is just, coffee is not really a known antagonist. What may be a known antagonist would be like the coffee creamers with the chemicals. So if you're having coffee creamers with chemicals, even if it says natural flavors, chances are it's a chemical. I tell people, let's just avoid that for a few days. And then what ends up happening is people start feeling so good that they choose not to put it in, because if you're dropping 3 to 5 pounds of stubborn fat and feeling better and sleeping better, you probably don't want to upset that apple cart. And that's because we're healing. It's like you have a sprained strain, and we want to really give it the full amount of time to heal, which is about 21 to 30 days. And then you bring back in the food one by one. And then I say that after you bring the food back in one by one and you're paying attention to things like energy, sleep, bloating, we actually make people take pictures of every meal they're taking, which initially seems annoying, but boy, you learn a lot when you're doing that about the combination. But ultimately, the 80-20 rule then comes into play. Once you're healed and ready to go, you can still enjoy wine and coffee and these other things, as an 80-20 rule, and it won't throw your whole system off. Right now, we're just so under the weather internally that, yes, they are causing havoc. So avoiding them forever doesn't really make sense, but until you reset your gut, you probably really want to avoid them.
Thank you. It's fantastic. And then one more here. How do you know what the best approach is to lose weight for your body type? Or really, maybe ask another way, how do you advise that folks figure out their body type in this type of approach?
Yeah, so, it's really not a body typing process. It's really how the food reacts to you. I know there are some good studies out there that say like someone's an ectomorph, an endomorph, and they might process proteins differently, or there's a lot of DNA testing on nutrition. I don't know if anyone's been through this testing where they test you for food allergies, and they basically give you an encyclopedia full of foods you should never eat, which is just about everything. So elimination reintroduction to me is the gold standard, and that's why we've chosen that. As an example, from clinical observation, we found that broccoli and cauliflower can be big antagonists for most people. So in the first few weeks, we actually eliminate those foods, and they're the first to be brought back in. So really, by doing the process of elimination is the most effective way, because we're not test tubes, we're not hooked up to treadmills. So many of the research that we see out there is done in basically lab experiments. We don't live in lab experience. We all commute. We have kids. We have stress. We have families, and we live in different parts of the world. So elimination reintroduction is the best way to figure out what foods work best for you. And I wouldn't necessarily even have to correlate that with a certain body type, just an individual person.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, really, for taking the time. Where maybe, and I think we'll have some information about Solera in just a moment, but where where can we find out more about Better Health online? Where can we follow you guys on social media? You could plug that information. That would be great.
Yeah, so betterhealth.com. The most important thing to do on betterhealth.com is to first go look at the reviews. We like to put all of our reviews on that come from Facebook and Google straight out front and center, because we know you've tried everything, right? You're cynical and skeptical. So we want to put all those reviews out there so that you can look through them and get that sense of security. Like, you know what? I know I've tried a lot of stuff, and I just hate that feeling of failing one more time. Let me give this a shot. And then when you look at those reviews, you can actually click on to, I think it says, learn more and then customize my plan. When you customize your plan, it will actually give you access to our app. When you go into the app, there's a group chat. I dare everybody on this phone to do that. Go on group chat and just say, hey, I was thinking about giving this a try. What do you think? And you will probably get a bunch of people who already drank the Kool-Aid here, by the way, the organic Kool-Aid, and they'll probably make you feel good about, doing this process, because I get it, man. Everybody has failed, right? They're just kind of sick and tired of failing. So that's the best way, is go to betterhealth.com, look at the reviews, get inside the app, go to the group chat, and then say, all right, I'm ready to give this a shot. Now, that doesn't mean that as soon as they say they're ready to go, we start them right away. We do a lot of prepping and planning to make sure that you're successful. So we don't just say, okay, it's go time tomorrow. It usually takes a week or two before, and sometimes 3 weeks to get you up and running. So we plan it out properly.
That's wonderful. And I can attest, I've seen the chat, I've read the reviews, and Better Health has raving fans, and it very impressed by everything I've seen as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. I made you do it.
I know. That's a couple months ago. I've been in there before, and that's a good segue too. If your health plan covers wellness programs, not only Better Health, but you can get high tech tools to help you lose weight, group support, and really if you haven't taken the time to look into this, and you do have a health plan that covers this information, there's help from trained health coaches. You can go in person, you can do online, which Better Health is in our network as well here. And so yeah, real easy to see if you qualify. Go to soleraforme.com webinar, take a short health quiz, and get started really on the path to better health. Thank you, Dr. Ferro, for enlightening us. We'll have this webinar available for replay and sent out. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Take care, everybody. My pleasure.